Hey y'all, happy Thursday. Man, I really miss being in our space on Thursdays, but you know what? We still gotta make it work. Um, today's gonna be an interesting session. I'm gonna tackle public speaking today. So, and when I'm talking about public speaking, I'm not talking about just like, regular things in terms of getting up, speaking in front of the audience. I'm going to be telling you guys like my best practices on things that I use personally to be able to help me to be considered, like an exceptional public speaker. So I'm going to be sharing everything. It's a lot to get through, so I'll tell y'all that up front. But definitely drop your comments, drop your questions. We'll answer them along the way, and hopefully, if we have time at the end, then I'll do like a Q&A for people that have questions. Hey, Cam. What's up? What's up? You've been rolling all day, man. How you doing? So, I'm gonna do a screen share. I got the comments over on my other laptop though, so I'll be able to see the comments there if you guys have any. But let me do this screen share. All right, all right, there we go. All right, so y'all should be able to see my screen now. So this is just the this is just the first screen, which is cool. All right, public speaking. Cass, I'm good. How are you, man? I'm blessed. I'm blessed. It's a blessing to be busy, and I'm definitely busy. I'm good. All right, y'all. So public speaking 101. Here we go. All right, so here's some of the things that we're gonna get into. So we're gonna define actually what public speaking is. We're gonna talk about the types of public speaking, and then I'm gonna give you my strategies that I use personally for public speaking. Hey Taylor, that's my favorite picture. That is my favorite picture. I still remember when I took that picture. And then if we have time, y'all, we're gonna do a Q&A. All right. So what is public speaking? All right. So public speaking really is when you think about a single person that's communicating to a group of people, whatever that group of people may be. And when is public speaking used? Here are just a few reasons why people use public speaking. They use it to entertain people. They use it to educate people or to teach people, and also to persuade people. Taylor, I wish I met you when you had dreads. Hey, James. All right. So this is when public speaking is used most often. Did y'all know that there were 4 types of public speaking? So let's talk about what some of those types of public speaking are. The first one is demonstrative public speaking. And this is when you're doing like tutorials, live demonstrations, things like that. Like you're actually doing something, performing an action while you're also talking or teaching a person. Generally, the goal is when you use this type of public speaking, the goal is you want your audience to leave with some type of skill or new information on how to do something. The second type is informative. And this is basically when you're just kind of like giving out information, whatever that information may be. Even like right now, while I'm speaking with you guys right now, this part of it really just is informative. Like I'm just giving you guys information. I don't really have a concern on whether or not you agree, disagree. I'm just disseminating information. And you normally see this type of public speaking style with like college professors doing course lectures or like health updates or things of that nature. The third type is ceremonial. So this one is when like people are speaking in front of the group at like big birthday parties, retirement parties, funerals, graduations, things like that. Normally with this type of public speaking, there's some type of emotional connection that's happening there. It's not always like that because, you know, sometimes people hire people to facilitate a party or a family situation. But most times when it's just like a situation where a person is just like stepping up to do the job, or if the person is a part of the family, then there is some type of emotional connection. And even if you don't have a personal emotional connection, a lot of times with these, the person who's doing the speaking is looking to create some type of emotional connection. And then the last one is persuasive. And this is the type of public speaking that we see like our elected officials do. Normally people use this type when they are doing like campaign speeches. Lawyers absolutely use this because the goal is to try to persuade people to whatever your way of thinking is, or whatever it is that you want people to walk away from. Like you really want to influence emotion, you want to influence agreement when you are public speaking using this style, this persuasive style. All right. So now we got a whole list of do's and don'ts. And this is where we're going to spend like the bulk of our time when it comes to public speaking, because when I was putting this together, I was like, I really want you guys to be able to walk away with something tangible that can make you a better public speaker, like starting today, if you put some of these concepts into practice. So the next few slides are just going to be, here's what I want you to do, and here's what you absolutely don't want to do. So as far as to do, know your material. You absolutely have to know what it is that you're speaking about. And if you don't know what it is that you're speaking about, you got two options. Either self-educate yourself and learn it, figure it out, and make sure that you know it well enough to teach it or to talk about it, or two, kindly decline that speaking engagement. There have been plenty of times where people have asked me to speak about subjects that I wasn't knowledgeable about, and I had to refer them to somebody else, or just, you know, kindly say, you know, thank you for thinking about me, but that's not a subject that I'm comfortable speaking with, because people were so impressed by my speaking style that they just wanted me to talk about any and everything. But you got to know what things you're comfortable talking about, because the moment that you're up there and you don't know what you're talking about, that's the moment that you lose all credibility with your audience, and you don't want to do that. And you definitely don't want to display a lack of confidence. Losing that confidence, you'll lose your audience just like that. So know your material, and don't display a lack of confidence. And if you are in a situation where you really don't know, like maybe if somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer, or you've come up to a topic and you don't know, you ain't got to fake it. People respect authenticity over everything. It's okay to say that you don't know. It's okay to say that you got to get back to them with the answer or something like that. That is fine, but definitely do what you have to do to keep that confidence intact. Hey, Lamar, do tell stories. People love stories, and the way that our brain is programmed, like this is based off of scientific fact, the way that our brain is programmed, like we relate to stories and we can connect emotionally, mentally with stories. Think about when somebody is trying to teach you something or tell you something. Even if you forget like what the whole thing was that they were talking about, 9 times out of 10, you can remember the story that they told and what the main idea was of that story and how that story potentially connected to what it was that they were telling you about. So stories really help to make your point stick when you're doing public speaking. And it's okay to tell other people's stories. You definitely want to tell your own story, but it is absolutely okay to tell other people's stories. Like I tell people all the time about people that I've met in my life and the different experiences and things that I've had, not necessarily my experiences, but I still tell those, especially if and when it relates to whatever topic that I'm talking about. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to tell stories that are unrelated or untrue. The worst thing that you can do is go off on a tangent about a story that has nothing to do with whatever the topic is that you're speaking about. Don't do it. And you definitely don't want to get into the habit of telling people things that just aren't true, like to try to hype up the story or to make it more impactful or anything like that. No, you can make it more impactful by the way that you say it and things of that nature. You don't got to lie or hype up the story. You want to make sure that the story is as true as possible to actually what happened. But storytelling is very powerful when it comes to public speaking. Do use metaphors and analogies. This is a good way for people to have their light bulb turn on instantly when you are explaining concepts and when you're trying to get across like different points. And it also allows people to visualize what it is that you're talking about. And you know that people learn in a lot of different ways. Like some people are auditory people, so they can learn and understand just by listening to you. Some people are visual people. They need a combination of both. They may need to actually see it. And some people are people who learn by actually doing. So you got to use basically whatever you have available to you in terms of trying to reach all of your listeners. And for the most part, for the visual folks, even if you don't have anything visual to show, you can help them create a visual that will be just as effective in their mind by using metaphors and analogies. An example of this, just in case anybody is confused on what this is, an example is if I'm giving a speech and I'm talking about like life, right? Just like going through life. I may say, life is like driving a car. Um, and if you don't keep your eyes on your goals, you might crash and burn. Everybody can basically kind of understand what I mean when I say that. And most people, if and when I say that, you'll kind of get a visualization of yourself like driving and not necessarily crashing into a wall, but maybe making a mistake or doing something that could potentially have a negative impact on your life. And all of a sudden, people kind of understand what it is, what I mean when I say that. So definitely you wanna be in a good habit of using metaphors and analogies when you're talking to people and doing your public speaking. All right, let me look at the comments. That's why this online learning needs to be changed a little bit because we're different types of learners. Absolutely, absolutely, yes. Online learning definitely should be changed to accommodate the different type of learning styles. Mar, what you mean you missed the picture? All right, and then don't demean others to make yourself look better. Like it's nothing worse than trying to put somebody else down or make somebody else look bad in a lame attempt to make yourself look better. Like, nah, people are going to respect you just because they respect you. They're going to appreciate you just because they appreciate you. You should never go out of your way to try to make anybody else look bad. All right. Do use the power of threes. For some odd reason, and this is true for most human beings, for some odd reason, most human beings think in threes. All right. If you think about like some of the things that exist just in our daily lives, those things are in threes. Some of the stories, like the three little bears, the three little pigs. When you think about movies or TV shows, you got the beginning, you got the middle, then you got the end, all threes. That's how people think. In public speaking, one thing that we do is we use this power of three. We start off by basically telling people what we're going to talk about. That's our beginning. We tell them what it is that we wanted to tell them. That's our middle. And then we do a call to action or wrap it up. That's our end. So definitely when you're doing whatever public speaking situation that you're doing, try to break up your speech into those threes so that people can follow along easily and if they don't feel overwhelmed. And that leads into the don't for this one, which is don't overload your audience. I don't care how long your public speaking situation is. Your public speaking situation can be as little as you got 3 minutes to as long as you got 6 hours. Still find a way to break that up and not overload your audience. Because what'll happen is you'll say a whole lot of something and people will walk away with nothing because they didn't remember anything. So definitely be cognizant of that. And when you get into the realm where you are doing speaking engagements, where you are talking in front of people for more than like 30 or 45 minutes at a time, find ways to like take breaks or do things to give people's mind a chance to rest so that they can power up and be ready to be back engaged with you. All right. Use acronyms. Acronyms are extremely helpful. I love acronyms because acronyms basically help you to stay on track. They give your audience a good way to remember what it is, whatever lesson that you're going to teach them. And it also puts some fun around whatever talk that you're doing. So and I would advise you make your acronyms something fun, something meaningful, and something that is easy for people to remember. And if anybody is confused on what I mean when I say an acronym is when you take a word and you break that word down and you make the first letter of that word mean something. So for example, if I was doing a speaking engagement and my topic was leadership, I would say, okay, I'm gonna teach you about leadership and I'm gonna teach you using the word leader. So I would say, start off with L. L is for listener. All great leaders are the best listeners. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You need to listen more, talk less. That would be my L. E would be engage. All great leaders understand how to engage people. You are not leading anybody if you're the only person doing and speaking and growing and learning. Everybody else needs to be doing, speaking, learning, and growing. A is for accountability. All great leaders are accountable. So you get the idea, and you would just go down the line with whatever word it is. You pick your own word though. And then once you pick your word, then you kind of be the judge as to how you're going to lead those words off. But just make sure that it's something that people can remember. If I'm doing a talk about leadership, people are going to remember my acronym leader, just because that's something easy to remember and it ties into what I'm speaking about. Hey, Asia, good to see you. All right, don't use silly words without any context or meaning. Like, it's okay to use silly words if you can put some meaning into those words. Like, I remember back in like grade school when our teacher was teaching us south, east, northwest. And the acronym for that was like, never eat soggy Wheaties. Like I still remember that. It was silly, but there was a lot of meaning and context around it. So you kind of never forgot it. So when you're thinking about acronyms that you want to use while you're doing your public speaking to help you make your point more clear, just think about making sure that those acronyms have some type of meaning and that they do align with whatever it is you're speaking about. The next thing, do ask rhetorical questions. A lot of psychology studies have proven that this is how the human brain engages. So even if you don't necessarily get a verbal response or any type of response back from your audience, if you ask a question, I promise you they are thinking about it. They're asking that question in their mind, and they're engaging with their self, which in turn they're engaging with you. So ask those rhetorical questions to provoke thought and engagement with your audience. You want people to be thinking about whatever it is you're talking about. You want people to care about whatever it is that you're talking about. Oh, Cam, you still use that? I know it was cool, right? And then don't assume everyone has had your experience. Sometimes it can be a fail if you ask a rhetorical question and people start to answer and their answer is not in line with what your experience was. Don't allow yourself to be thrown off by that. Appreciate and understand that everybody comes from a different walk of life and everybody hasn't had your experience. But what you do want to do is, though, when you ask like these rhetorical questions and you're trying to engage your audience in this perspective, what you do want to do is you want to ask those broad questions that most people can relate to. Like if I said something like, oh man, I must be the only person in the room who has ever felt guilt. Like a rhetorical question, but I guarantee you 99.9% of the people in that room can relate. They felt guilt. Maybe not the same experience. We probably haven't felt guilty over the same situations, but that's something that everybody can relate to. It don't matter your race, it don't matter your age, it don't matter your background, where you come from. That's something that everybody can relate to. And those are the type of rhetorical questions that you want to ask, because those type of questions are what's going to get you the most engagement in terms of people starting to think about what you're talking about and care about what you're talking about. Lamar said, I think that grabs the viewer's attention. Absolutely. It definitely grabs their attention. And that's the whole thing when it comes to public speaking. You not only want to grab that attention, but once you grab it, you want to hold on to it and you want to keep it. And it's so hard to keep people's attention when you just got to stand up there and talk. So that's why some of these strategies and tactics are very effective in terms of being able to engage people and to make whatever speaking engagement you're a part of a success. All right, be aware of your body language, people. Oh my gosh. This one I cannot stress enough. You will have unwanted attention. You will be telling people something totally different than what's coming out of your mouth if you don't have your body language in check. If anything, communication basically teaches us that communication is 90% not what you say. Like what you say is really only 10% of communication. Communication is everything else. So you really got to be mindful of your body language and what your body is saying. Like you could be trying to give a talk about something important, something of urgency, but your body language could be saying, I really don't care. I could care less. I'm ready to go. I'm not comfortable here. And that's not what you want to say to people through your body language, because that's going to immediately turn people off and people aren't going to be taking you seriously. So definitely be aware of your body language and don't distract your audience with your nonverbals. Like, oh my gosh, don't stand there like tapping your foot or clenching your fists or doing things with your hands that is doing anything other than aiding you in communication. Now, it's one thing to talk with your hands. I talk with my hands a lot. And if you if you aren't in the habit of talking with your hands, you definitely want to form some type of habit of that, but a healthy way to where so your hands can help emphasize your point and not take away from what it is that you're doing. But you definitely want to be aware of that body language and of what your body is saying to your audience, because you don't want it to be a contradiction between what's coming out of your mouth and what your body language is saying to people. Do be passionate. You definitely want to have some passion in whatever it is that you're speaking about. Like that goes a long way to be able to show some type of excitement, to be able to show investment and engagement in whatever the topic is that you're talking about. Most people will think, hey, if this person isn't excited about it, if this person isn't passionate about it, why should I be? And that is not the effect that we want when we're doing public speaking. When we're doing public speaking, we want people to be passionate about what excites us. We want people to be excited about whatever it is that we're presenting to them. And you don't want to waste time with fillers. Like a lot of people, especially when you get to public speaking situations where it's like more than like 20 or 30 minutes, people start to think, okay, well, what can I do to fill that time? Wrong answer. Don't ever have that thought. What can I do to fill that time? You always want to make sure that whatever the situation is in terms of your public speaking engagement, that you are not wasting time, but that every single thing is something of value, something that people can think about, something that people can take away. Like you don't want to get into the habit of just throwing crap in there just to keep people busy. Not a good look. And that's how a lot of people get caught up with like these slideshows and stuff like that, because they do their slideshows, and then when they feel like they don't have any meat to present to people, they just put some bull crap slides up there. A waste of everybody's time. Don't waste anybody's time. It's better for you to end early and to have people wanting more, or to have people engaging you with questions, than to purposefully stretch out that time and just have people sitting there in pain, ready to kill themselves because you've ran out of valuable information and now you just filling the time. Don't ever do that. All right, do include your audience. This is a great way to engage your audience. Anytime you can include your audience, do it. A great way to include your audience is like things where you can ask people to like stand up. An example might be, hey, stand up if you've ever in your life lost someone that you care about. And then you have the entire audience, or you may have some people stand up. And then you may say something like, sit down if you've lost that person to cancer. And then you might see a fraction of the room sit down, but a lot of people may be still standing up because cancer is a leading killer. And then we may say, you guys represent the amount of people that will lose this year alone to cancer. And like something like that is powerful. That's a powerful way to include your audience. So just think of different little creative things that you can do that doesn't require much, but makes your audience part of your conversation. And don't reprimand your audience. One of the worst things that you can do is to try to treat people like kids, especially when you're not talking to kids. Now, sometimes when you are dealing with kids, you gotta do like the classroom norms, and you gotta set rules and boundaries and all that stuff like that. Sometimes you gotta do that. I'm not saying that you won't ever have to do that. But most times when you have a mature crowd, trust people to handle themselves. And if people aren't handling themselves, don't go out of your way to reprimand people. Just keep it moving. If somebody's cell phone rings in the middle of your presentation, you do not have to stop your entire presentation to give everybody a speech about the importance of turning off your cell phones. Let that person take care of it. Move on with what you're doing. Don't get hung up on little things like that, because then you'll end up wasting your time. And Cam, I see your comment that time is valuable. Time is extremely valuable, especially when you're standing up there doing this public speaking thing, because you are the life of the room. Do use humor to connect with people. There are few things that bring everybody together, regardless of what culture, background, age, whatever. So, like, music brings people together, food brings people together, humor brings people together. Find a way to connect. Even if you have a serious topic that you're talking about, still try to find a way for some humor to come out of it. It doesn't mean that you're going to be talking about sick cancer patients and you're going to be laughing your butt off about people having to deal with chemo. No, but you may have a story about somebody recovering from chemo, and then, you know, them making like a funny video or something like that. Something, whatever it is, make sure that you're able to just infuse that little bit of humor, because it'll definitely help you to connect with your audience on a deeper level. And don't use your humor to alienate people. So, like, if your humor is going to leave out a group of people, or, you know, like a subset of people, and it's going to make people kind of feel uneasy, then leave that out of it. Try to have neutral humor that everybody, or mostly everybody, can, you know, find something to laugh about within that moment. Oh, Ma, that's all you. Yeah. All right. Dude, let your personality shine through. I can't really stress this one enough. People are already expecting for you to not be human, for you to not be real. And I know that this sounds crazy, but when you are basically the public speaker doing whatever it is, people don't think that you're a real person. And it's crazy. But what you have to do is you really have to humanize yourself and allow your personality to come through. Even if you're talking to a room of 500 people, every last one of those people should feel like they know you by the time you're done speaking with them. They should feel like they know you, even if they've never met you in person. Even if people only hear you speak like through a platform like this, like how we're doing this right now online. Put your personality into it, because people like people. And I know that that sounds crazy, but people don't like people who tend to kind of be above everybody else, or just have this attitude or this thing about them where they're not like a real person, and they just kind of like this robot, and all you doing is just standing there speaking one way, and that's it. People don't want that. Allow your personality to shine through. Allow people to get to know you, and be comfortable and confident with who you are. And don't be the person that no one invites to dinner. And when I say that, that's the butthole. Like, don't be that person. You want to be the person that people would say, you know what, I wouldn't mind having them over for dinner. You don't want to be the person that's arrogant, the person that's a know-it-all, the person that thinks they better than everybody else in the room. Nobody wants that person sitting at their dinner table. So don't be the person that people are like, I would never invite that person over. Do create an inside joke. This one is cool because this one allows you to have a special connection with that audience. And I do this one a lot, especially when I'm doing like corporate trainings and stuff like that, because a lot of times like the room might be stuffy, people might be stiff, and I'm trying to get people to relax, because one thing about learning is you learn the most when you're relaxed and when you're able to be authentic and when you feel like you can have a real conversation. So creating an inside joke with that group or with your people really helps to kind of create that bond and create that connection. An example of that is what I do personally, and I'm giving away one of my trade secrets, y'all. But I always find a trouble in my group, right? And we talking about corporate people, right? So I always find a trouble, and a trouble might be like somebody that like says something crazy, or maybe like they dropped their phone, or they did something that was small, and then automatically I'm like, oh, I see what table is the trouble table over there. Like, and when I say that, everybody kind of knows exactly what I mean. So you got to be creative with how you do it and what works for you, but definitely try to create some type of inside joke with your group that will help solidify that bond. Lamar said, I think that everything matters when you're presenting, like your accent and attire. It's like just those small aspects allows for people to connect and see their self in you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Everything you said is 100% true. And that definitely ties into the whole idea of allowing people to see your personality. And a lot of times people will be inspired by you. They will see a part of themselves in you, and they will try to mimic and duplicate some of the things that you do in their own way. So that is definitely a compliment. It's a great thing. So absolutely be as much of yourself as you possibly can. And don't belittle anyone. So when you're creating your inside joke, and when you're connecting and trying to have a bond via humor, you definitely don't want to belittle anyone, because that could go really, really bad, really, really quick. So you don't want to do that. You really want to keep everything like lighthearted and really fun. All right. Do use your acting skills when you're being a public speaker. You want to do a little bit of acting too, especially when you're telling the story. So, so say like you're telling the story about an old teacher or something like that. Mimic how that teacher used to talk to you. Johnny, now like something like that. Like act it out. Maybe you are talking about like how you missed a ball or something like that. Somebody threw the ball at you and you were just stuck like this, frozen. Like act that out. Show your people that. At best, you'll get a nice warm reaction. Like people might laugh, they might find that humorous, they might like, I don't know, okay. Or at worst, it'll just be neutral. But either way, it is another way to engage your audience and to keep them flowing with that conversation. Uh, yeah, you got to act like you're not nervous. Hey, yo. Yeah, that too. You definitely got to act like you're not nervous, that too. But you know what? That comes with that authenticity piece as well. So if you are nervous, just say that you're nervous, and depending on your acting skills, you might say, hey, I was standing in the background like this, almost not ready to come out here. Like, do whatever you can to make fun of it, to make it part of what you're doing, and just using it as another tool, another way to connect with your audience. Yep, let them acting skills shine. I see you, Kia. Yep, you got to be an actor. Don't be boring. I know that that is so much easier said than done, but you cannot be boring. Not only will people walk away with potentially negative thoughts about your speech or your talk, but they also will probably miss the message. A lot of times when it comes to delivering messages, the message can be good. It's the messenger that we don't like or that we don't appreciate. And sometimes that causes us to miss the message. So you definitely don't want to be boring. People already expect most public speakers to be boring. Not all of them, but just in general, like when people think of a public speaker, you don't necessarily think that that's about to be exciting or that's about to be fun. Like most people, when they go to hear speakers speak, it's because they care about the topic or they care about, what the material is. But having a great messenger, having a great speaker makes it even better. So you definitely want to do whatever you can to not be boring. And on top of that, you won't get invited back. You want to be able to get invited back, especially if this is something that you want to do for a career. Like if you are a young person right now and you thinking, maybe public speaking is something that I can do as a career, man, listen, start honing your skills now, because you can literally see like $1,000, and I'm talking minimum, for like a 30-minute talk, like depending on what the talk is and who's hiring you to do that. Like it is no joke. This is a very lucrative profession, but it requires a lot from you. And I tell people this all the time. Like people wonder why, like I'm so tired and like drained at the end of the day when I have to facilitate a class or when I'm standing up talking to people. It's not that I don't love it. I absolutely love it, but it takes a lot out of me because I have to keep my mind engaged. I have to keep my heart engaged. I have to keep everything about me engaged in the conversation, because that's the only way that you're really going to know Miss Joni. And that's the only way that I'm really going to be able to make a connection with you, especially if we don't know each other. 9 times out of 10, when you're going into these rooms to talk in front of people, you don't know these people. These people don't know you. So you got to be able to create and establish rapport quickly. And when I say rapport, that's just another word for relationships. You got to establish relationships quickly, and you can't do that if you're boring. Lamar said, if you're boring, and that means you didn't leave your mark. They're going to forget what you said, plus they're less likely to pay attention, right? Absolutely. Yep. You hit it. Absolutely. Can't be boring. Be mindful of how you say it. How you say something means everything. And it kind of piggybacks a little bit off of not being boring. So when you are speaking, you want to put emphasis on certain words. You want to make sure that you pause and that you stop on certain sentences. See how I just did that? You definitely want to make sure that you are keeping people engaged how you're talking. If you just talking and you just going on and 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 on for a run-on sentence, people stop listening to you after maybe like the 4th or 5th word. But when you give yourself a pause, when you give yourself a second, people tune in. Oh, what's she about to say next? Or what is he about to say next? People automatically tune in. Like that's definitely a skill that you have to work on if you're naturally a fast talker, if you're naturally someone who gets nervous and you just want to get it all out. Like that's something you really got to work on, because it'll kill your public speaking situation if you go in just talking all fast and just doing one long run-on sentence and you don't take time to be mindful of putting in pauses, putting emphasis on certain words, and really, just being cognizant of how you're saying things. And it kind of goes back to what we talked about personality. Say things with your personality. People all the time, especially when they aren't from Baltimore, they know that I'm from somewhere else when I start talking to them, because I don't try to hide the way that I talk. I still use some of my slang. I still use like some of my, just like natural things that I would say in a regular conversation, even in a professional conversation, because it makes my how a little more powerful. It puts some sauce on my how. You don't want to talk fast, which we touched on a little bit, and you definitely don't want to overcomplicate it. When somebody is overcomplicating something, or they are saying it and it don't make sense, you know what that means? That means that they don't know what they're talking about. When somebody truly understands a topic, when they understand something, I don't care how crazy or complex the topic is, when somebody knows it and understands it, they can communicate it to you so that way you will understand it. You might not necessarily care about it. You might not necessarily remember it or understand every single step, but you'll have a basic, fundamental, logical understanding of what it is. And if you leave the conversation, if your audience leaves the conversation thinking that what you said was too complicated, it was too much, then you did a poor job. You failed on simplifying the situation. Make things simple. Complicating it does not make you look smarter. It don't. And it don't mean that you're smarter. If anything, it means that you don't know enough. Lamar said, yeah, when I get nervous, I tend to explain everything back to back, plus talking extra fast. Yeah, Cam lingo. Yeah, yeah, you definitely want to be mindful of that. But at least you recognize it. So the fact that you recognize it is a good thing. Do smile. Smiling is underrated. Not enough people do it. People think that you lose your professionalism when you're smiling, or you lose credibility and whatever it is that you're talking about. No, like smiling humanizes you. It connects you with your audience. So definitely use your smile to your advantage in order to keep solidifying that connection with your audience. And don't be fake. Like people can smell fake from a mile away. You do not want to be fake with people. If anything, it is best to gracefully bow out than to stand up there and be fake with people and just basically waste people's time. So is fear holding you back from public speaking? Are you sitting here thinking like, you know what, Miss Joni, those were some really good points. I've really learned some things that I can potentially do and put into practice right now, but fear is holding me back. What should I do? What can I do? You want to know? Do it anyway. Do it anyway. It's nothing else I can say. I would be sitting up here lying if I told you that you're not going to be nervous. At times, you're not going to want to quit, that you may be sweating, shaking in your boots. I would be lying if I said that you probably wouldn't experience any or all of those things. You will. You probably will, especially if this is 100% outside of your comfort zone. You definitely will. But you got to do it anyway. Still do it while you shaking in your boots. Still do it while you are sweating profusely. Still do it while you got all these things in your mind trying to hold you back, all these things in your heart trying to hold you back. Still do it anyway. And that is going to take a tremendous amount of courage and discipline. And people think that courage is not being afraid. And that's really not the case. It's the exact opposite. True courage is being afraid, but still doing it anyway. That's courage. So you're going to have to call on that courage, and you're going to have to call on that discipline if you feel like fear is holding you back in terms of public speaking and reaching your goals when it comes to that. Kev said, I hate seriousness. Yeah, I know. Me too, because it really takes away from the authenticity, and it really diminishes whatever personality that you're trying to get across. So we did pretty good on time, y'all. We got maybe about 5 more minutes or so. So if y'all have any questions about any of this stuff, let me know what questions you may have about public speaking or about anything in relation to that. We did good. We did really good getting through that. Kieja said, I don't smile because I feel like I'm forcing it. That's a good point, Kieja. Yeah, you got to find a natural way to do that. So people are definitely going to be able to tell when you're fake smiling, but I guess you really have to just kind of first ask yourself, like, why aren't you smiling? Like, are you like really just not happy? Like, or is that something that, just doesn't come natural to you? Or are you one of those people to where as though it's like you smiling on the inside, but your face doesn't necessarily reflect what's happening to you on the inside? And if that's the case, definitely try to figure out and find ways where your face can actually represent a smile or something close to it, to where as though you're able to create those connections and bonds with your audience. And it's not to say that you got to sit there and cheese the whole time. No, nobody's saying that, but you do want to have some type of friendly and welcoming, opening demeanor about you, because if you don't, people will automatically be turned off and you'll start to lose people before you even really get started, when people feel like you are closed off and you don't have like an open type of situation. So, but that's a good point though. That's a great point. All right, so if y'all don't have any questions, man, then we probably can go ahead and end early. Let me stop this share. I hope that that was helpful for you guys, and that you got something out of it, and that you feel like you can be like more confident and comfortable when it comes to public speaking. Cam said, what's the best reaction you got after? The best reactions that I've gotten really have been people treating me like Beyonce. Like, and that is no lie. Like, forget a standing ovation. I'm talking about people literally rushing, lining up to talk to you. Like, that is so humbling. People asking to take a selfie or asking to take a picture with you, or asking me to like sign something or whatever. Like, those reactions, those genuine reactions are definitely my favorite. I've had a few where people were in tears, like crying in tears, talking about how inspired they were, and now because of me and because of our interaction, they now feel empowered to chase their dreams and to do the thing that they have been putting off and that they've been denying themselves for so long. So to have people have those type of revelations and to come up and tell me those things. But I've literally had like a few situations where people had to like sneak me out the room, because like that's how bad it was, because I really didn't have the time to stay and talk. I would have stayed and talked to, every last person. But I can distinctly remember a couple of times where I had like back-to-back things to do, and people were lined up and they had to like sneak me out the back. Like it was definitely humbling experience. Kelly said, thanks, Johnny, that was me. Oh, what you mean that was you? That was definitely not you. But yeah, Cam, it's crazy. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you take public speaking seriously and you are really able to connect with people, you can really have some serious impacts on people's lives, even if you've never met them, even if you've never or would have ever come in contact with them. Like, some of the people who I can say who have expressed to me that I've had like the greatest impact on their life were people to where as though we probably would have never been friends in real life, just because our life journey and paths like was so different, like so different. But whatever situation that brought us together, like in that room, whether somebody, hired me to do a speaking engagement or to do like a training session or, whatever, like that would have been or was like the only way that we would have ever connected. Like those moments are really powerful and special to me too. Yeah. Yeah. So we are like at our time for real, for real. So unless y'all have any other questions, I'm gonna let y'all be for the rest of the night. I hope that this was helpful. If it was helpful, definitely let me know if and when you start to use some of these strategies. And if this has inspired you to get like your first public speaking gig, let me know about it. I want to show up. I want to support. I truly believe that young people specifically, like you have the power to do these things now. You ain't got to wait until you super old like me to start doing these things. Like you can start doing these things now and start setting up your future in terms of what you want to do and who you want to be in this world now. I know, Cam, it went fast. It went super duper fast, but I am not even complaining, y'all. Y'all know I'm a TGIF person now. So tomorrow is Friday. If y'all rocking with me on Thriving Thursdays, I'll see y'all next Thursday at 6 o'clock. If you have a topic that you want me to talk about or something that you want me to teach, send those to me so that way I can make sure that I'm talking about something that's relevant, something that you guys want to know about. And if you want success sessions, I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Y'all, don't sleep on the success sessions, y'all. We got national people talking to us about these success sessions, like national people. So when I start calling on some of my heartbeats, like, look, I need you to meet me at BWI. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Like, don't be surprised. But success sessions, y'all. Tell a friend to tell a friend. 10 a.m. is when we start. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Kylie said open mic this Friday. Oh, for Focus Friday? All right, we might have to do something like that. All right, so hopefully I'll see y'all tomorrow on Success Sessions, 10 a.m. If not, then I'll see you next Thursday, 6 o'clock, Thriving Thursdays. Y'all enjoy the rest of your evening.